Welcome on back to the 4th and 30 podcast. Appreciate T stepping in last week and filling in my role there to get you the 4 screens that you're used to there on the YouTubes. Week 6 just wrapped up in the NFL, so we've got some good and bad from this last week, and then we're going to take a look forward into Week 7 and see what's coming up. So I'll just go ahead and kick off the good, just so nobody steals this from me. Derrick Henry is a damn monster, and he is on pace to rush for 2,088 through 16 games, 2,218 through 17. So I wanted to throw that in there because the 17-game season is going to probably screw us some records, but he is on pace to do 2,000 in 16. So there is no real answer for Derrick Henry. And usually he doesn't turn it on this early in the season. So the last few seasons he's been that last half of the season guy. But it could end up being scary that he's turning it on. Braves to score again.
Scored again, baby.
5-2.
See ya, Bueller.
So it could end up being like scary that he has turned it on this quick. 10 touchdowns over 6 games is nuts. 4.8 yards a carry with 162 carries. That's a lot of work. But if anybody's built to do it, it's Derrick Henry. So that is a good thing to see.
Yeah, dude's insane. I'm hoping that they allow the Chiefs to have like 15 defenders on the field at a time this week to try and stop him because he might get to 2,000 this week.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and say my good here too because it goes on with Carl's and then we can talk about it all at once. But my good is the Tennessee Titans look like they're primed up, ready to go right now. Makes the AFC that much deeper. And everyone knows the Titans go as Derrick Henry goes. And he is on an absolute tear right now. He's playing as good as he has ever played. We were just talking about his age before we hit the record button and how he's not slowing down at all. And here he is, and the Titans are playing well. It makes Tannehill that much better when King Henry's playing well. And the Titans look like a legit contender again. Early in the year, I was high on them going into the year. Then a couple weeks into the season, I was like, oh, I don't know. They just might not have it this year. And then they're back to looking pretty damn good right now, knocking off Buffalo last night.
Yeah. I mean, this team, the Tennessee Titans are Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, I mean, you take him off this team and they might not even win this division. All this talk of Ryan Tannehill being a top-tier quarterback, no. You're seeing why the Titans are successful. And it's not because of their quarterback. It's because of Derrick Henry. That was pretty impressive last night. He gets a cake of a matchup this week against Kansas City. I'm excited to see that. But you see the Titans' win condition here. Their win condition is to bully you and run the football, and that's proven to be a win condition in a lot of playoffs in January. So I'm not counting. I was a little low on the Titans the way they started, but I was reminded quickly of why you should not count them out.
Yeah.
Their defense,
running games travel really well.
That's what I was getting ready to say, Kyler. The thing I think that's going to hold the defense or the Titans back is that defense because their offense isn't good enough. It's not their offense is Derrick Henry, like Kyler just said. Their offense is good, but their offense isn't good enough to carry them in what has a pretty loaded AFC right now. If their defense doesn't improve a little bit, yes, they're a very good team, but they're not good enough to make it to the Super Bowl. That's going to be the key to them.
their offense needs to play to keep their defense off the field. And that minimizes your margin. It does reduce your margin for error, but I could see a world in which, they control the time of possession and win games. Keep that defense off the field.
Yeah, that's what they have to do.
I agree they can. Like they won that game against the Bills, but can they do it 3 weeks in a row in the playoffs when it's time to do it? I don't see them doing it. I mean, I could be proven wrong. I think they're a very good team. I just don't think their offense is good enough with how inept their defense is right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Kelsey, in that I think the Titans are obviously they've asserted themselves as they are a playoff team this year. It's their division to lose. But there's so many good teams in the AFC that one week where Henry doesn't run the ball well in the playoffs, or Tannehill's off on his play action passes, then they're going to get beat. There's just too many good teams in the AFC. They're not that much better than everyone else. They're the lower of the playoff team, but
This
they
is
look
what
much
Vegas
better.
thinks of them. They're 5.5-point underdogs at home this week against the Chiefs, who have no run defense.
The
I
the
mean-
Titans, yeah, the Titans beat the Bills, sure. But the Bills also had kind of a fluke deal with Allen slipping there at the end that, they were going for the game instead of going for overtime. So, yeah, they beat the Bills, but the Bills also, Josh Allen slipped. So, fluke things happen, and if Josh Allen doesn't slip last night, gets that first down and they punch in a touchdown, like I don't think this conversation's happening today.
Yeah, it's a little bit different conversation today if the Bills do finish that drive.
Because it's
And I
not
think-
like they whooped the Bills. They just happened to beat the Bills.
To be completely honest, I was surprised at the end when the Titans weren't calling timeouts. They were very confident in keeping the Bills out of the end zone, and they did, but it might have been on behalf of the Bills screwing up the drive instead of the Titans actually stopping them.
Since we talked about it so much, I'm going to go ahead and do my future. My future is Chiefs Titans, and if you don't bet that over, you are an idiot. The over is 56.5, and both teams are probably going to put up 40. Like, it's going to be one of those games. So, the Chiefs have the 28th ranked scoring defense, and the Titans have the 28th ranked in yards per attempt, in air yards per attempt. So, yeah, bet that over, because we all know what Mahomes can do. We all know what Derrick Henry is going to do to the Chiefs, and then you've got Julio Jones running around if he's eligible, and then AJ Brown. So, bet that over. That's your future.
Well-
Bet it.
Before we move on to the next thing, what is going on with Julio Jones? He was on the sideline that entire last drive. Why do they not want him on the field?
He might not know the playbook well enough to be in those situations. I don't know.
I mean, he's finding out he had a better quarterback in Atlanta. What can you say? I mean,
Well, I like Matt Ryan, so I'm not going to disagree with that. I always think Matt Ryan's had
yeah,
some
former
shit in
MVP.
some
It's just not
arguments.
clicking for him yet, and it's it's not a very pass happy offense. At least they don't want it to be. So, I really didn't feel like Julio Jones was going to have a great year coming in, and like they haven't had a lot of time. Julio's banged up a lot. They just need to start clicking, get some chemistry going. But really, AJ Brown, it really isn't having as big of a year as he typically has either. So there's just something off in the passing game in Tennessee right now. And
Well, when you're running Henry 30 plus times a game and he's getting you 100, 120, 130, 140 yards, your numbers aren't going to look as good.
But that should open up some deep shots for Julio and
I mean,
AJ.
yeah,
Those two guys should
it-
have some open.
It should,
open end,
yeah.
top end of the defense.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but and having the threat of AJ Brown on the other side of Julio Jones also helps Derrick Henry. I mean, it all works together. The Titans just don't seem to take those shots that often. Whether they're there or not, they just don't even seem to take those shots.
To be fair, it does seem like the offensive line is not holding up in pass protection quite a bit. It doesn't seem like he has a lot of time to, make those reads and survey the field. But I think eventually it'll click for him a little better. I mean, they've been a good offense for 3 years. I expect them to, improve there. They will get Julio Jones going at some point this season.
So the Titans, in essence, had about 3 of our categories there. So we'll move on. Kelsey, what is your good from week 6?
My good from week 6, and it was they actually had a close game, but they pulled it out. The Cowboys. The Cowboys continue to look good on every side of the football, and they can run the ball, they can throw the ball. The defense looks good. Yeah, they got scared by the Patriots. They still pulled it out. I think they're a legit threat in an NFC with some good teams. I think they're a legit threat.
Yeah, I mean, the Cowboys kind of, I'm going to compare them to the Braves here real quick because Cowboys, Braves, both considered choke artists, recently. The Braves just watching the Cowboys game that day, everything went against them. I mean, they had a fumble into the end zone that should have been a touchdown. Everything was going against them. Those are games that they lose in the past. They didn't lose this game. That's the next step for the Cowboys. Impressive win, even though it was close. You're not going to blow everybody out in the NFL. So yeah, I agree. That was a big win for the Cowboys and a big step for them.
It was almost halftime, and I saw a stat that the Cowboys have more plays in the Patriots side of the field than the Patriots had in the entire game. The time of possession was insane. Like, the Cowboys outplayed them the entire game. It's just like Kyler said, everything was going against them, and they still found a way to pull it out.
Yeah, I do think Trayvon Diggs is special. Like that, it's a special talent to be a ball hawk like that. Yeah, gave up a big play there at the end after the pick six, but like to have 7 interceptions over 6 games,
You can live with one big play.
yeah,
for sure.
He's playing at a clip that's you just don't see very often, if at all. So, that definitely helps. And that kid that stepped in from, well, I'm not going to call him a kid because I wouldn't want to meet him in the street, but Micah Parsons that stepped in from Penn State, he's playing darn well. So, they do have some stuff figured out, and it does benefit them that they are in the NFC East and is going to, get a few wins here and there that kind of given to them. But that's not going to take away. They're still a professional football team, and they're probably going to, make some noise. They're on pace to break into not just be the 4th seed. When was the last time the NFC East wasn't the 4th seed?
And their pass rush is good too. I mean, they've got everything going for them right now, honestly. It's early. Still a lot of season to be played, and a lot of things could change, but right now they've got everything going for them.
The thing that Cowboys don't have going for them is the NFC is very top heavy. I mean, they've got 5 teams with 1 loss, and you better be getting that home field advantage because that's going to be a huge difference in the NFC this year. And it's going to be a dogfight.
Cardinals,
Luckily,
Rams,
the thing that the
Cowboys.
the thing the Cowboys do have going for them is they get to play the Giants twice, Washington twice, and the Eagles twice. Whereas the Cardinals got to play the Rams. The Bears and Vikings look like legitimate, decent teams that the Packers are going to have to fight to win against. Cowboys don't have that, so that'd be a big 1 seed for the Cowboys.
I don't have much to say about the Cowboys. I wasn't going to say nothing at all. They have passed the eye test early. There's no denying that. They have. Lost to the Bucks in a game where they looked good. They looked really good and lost the game. They beat the Chargers by 3. Still unsure about the Chargers. They looked really good up until this last week. I thought they were pretty legit going into that. So that's a good win for the Cowboys. Play the Eagles, Panthers, who came out as pretenders. They were not legit like we all thought they were. Like they showed they might be. Giants, horrible. Patriots, horrible. Then they play the Vikings, Broncos, Falcons, and then the Chiefs, which the Chiefs haven't looked very good yet, but that's a perennial powerhouse here recently that will be a good litmus test for them. Then Raiders, Saints, football team, Giants, football team, Eagles, and then the second to last game of the year is the Cardinals. So they're playing 2 legit teams the rest of the year.
14-3 is what you're saying?
I'm saying they could, and then
that might be a 1 seed.
I know,
that could be huge.
But with how weak that division is, you're not going to know until the playoffs roll around. I don't think you'll get a good eyeball test against the Chiefs, and then week 16 against the Cardinals. Is going to be a big one as long as the Cardinals are still rolling and don't choke like they did last year. So it's just hard to tell. So far they look good. I still have a hard time believing they're not going to cowboy, but I don't know.
It honestly could end up hurting them that they have that schedule too, even though they get the 1 seed. They haven't seen competition for weeks. They've just been rolling through games, then they get to the playoffs, and that happens to teams a lot.
Yeah, seeing the Cardinals week 16 will be a big help to them come playoff time. Freshly seeing somebody good, they'll probably already be a lock for the playoffs or only a game out at that point in time, or need the last week to seal it off or whatever. But so yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to put them in the contender category yet. But they're not pretenders, but they're not contenders yet. They're kind of in
Frisky.
they're in playoff purgatory for me right now.
They're frisky, but they're not quite
I will
legit.
say that Bucks game, you have to give them quite the defending Super Bowl champs don't lose in week 1, and that Cowboys team, that was basically a brand new defense. You're putting guys together.
Yeah.
I mean, they looked the offense looked good that game. Stuck with the Bucks. I mean, I don't know. I think they look
and
good.
I said it.
I
They
get what
look
you're
good.
saying.
They look good that week. Week 1, I was like, okay, well, they're pretty good. But then they eke out one against the Patriots, one possession game against the Panthers, one possession game against the Chargers, and then they beat up on the Eagles and Giants like they should. So it's just hard telling. We'll know in a couple weeks.
Well, week
Tyler,
17.
what's your good? Week 18.
Carl, do you want me to go baseball with my good?
Hell yeah, brother.
All right, you talked me into it. We're going to go to the the Hotlanta Braves because no one is giving them a chance to win this series.
Yeah.
And as we talk right now,
You're about to put the double cat's ass whammy on them so hard right here, but go
as we
ahead.
talk right now, they're on the verge of maybe going up 3-0. And I still feel like this series isn't over until they win the 4th game. Because we know what happened last year. It was 3-1.
It is how it works.
It was 3-1 last year. Braves had it, This year feels different for me as a Braves fan. Just legitly talking, this year feels different. These games, the Braves would not have came back and won last year. Or in the last 15 years when they didn't win a playoff series for 15 years. So my good, I'm happy for the Braves. They're getting clutch hits for once in their life. Once in the last 20 years in the playoffs. And the Dodgers are the team making the mistakes. That game too would have not have. I thought it was an error. It was called a single. I would have gave him an error on it if you saw it. But that's where I'm going with my good.
Well, yeah, you're exactly right, Kai. I don't think there's anybody outside of the state of California who wants the Dodgers. I think 99% of the United States is Braves fans for this series. But winning game 1 like that, the Dodgers start here, and they can say they don't listen to the news, watch SportsCenter or whatever, but they're going to start hearing, oh my goodness, this payroll, these amount of names, and they're underperforming. And then game 2, the Braves pull it off, and then it snowballs from there. The Braves are sneaky good. Like, they've got a lot of big name guys who were, like Jock Peterson getting big hits for the Braves. He was discarded by the Dodgers because he wasn't good enough to fit on this current iteration they have. When he was a hero last year for him, but
was he good enough to fit on the iteration of the Cubs?
I mean, he played well while he was there. He was making them go this way. The Cubs wanted to go this way, but anywho, you're right. This feels like the Braves' year. They lose Acuna, which is horrible. How much better would they be with Acuna now? But they've got some not big name guys making big name plays. And that's what it takes. And Freddie Freeman's the best player on the team with Acuna out, and he's not even particularly playing well right now. So,
I'd be very careful. So, as a Cardinals fan, I know what it's like to play the Red Sox in the World Series.
I'm not looking forward to that one.
This year feels like one of those dumbass special years for the Red Sox that they just get to rub in everybody's face. It just does it not just scream it? They beat the Yankees in a 1-game wild card, and then Schwarber from Waltham. Yeah, they beat the Yankees in a 1-game wild card, and then beat the best team in the AL over the regular season, the Rays, in the NLD or ALDS. Like, it just. And I hate it. I hate the Red Sox almost as much as I hate the Yankees, but it just feels like one of those years.
Yeah. It would be
what's ironic? The last time a team beat a team as bad as the Red Sox won the first couple games was the Braves in '96. They won the Braves won the NLCS. They scored an ungodly amount of runs. Then they won the first game of the World Series and then didn't win another game. They lost the next 4 or something against the Yankees. So it'd be ironic if the Red Sox went off like this and then played the Braves in the World Series and the Braves went and beat them.
Oh, and yeah, I'd love that.
That's always possible. But I mean, if the Red Sox continue to score that amount of runs, I don't think anybody
Nobody could beat them if they score that amount of runs.
And what the
You
Red
know-
Sox are doing is what the Dodgers are paying for, and it's not working out. The Red Sox have some good bats. There's no doubt
Red
in
Sox
that.
have a big payroll too.
Yeah.
It's not as high as the Dodgers, but it's a big payroll.
The unsung hero for the Braves, well, there's a lot of them, but give Austin Riley his credit because last year that guy was a 7-hole hitter. You never know what you were going to get out of him. He took the next step this year. He hit 303 for 33 home runs. He had a home run in game 1, then hit the walk-off, had an RBI last night, has another RBI today. Austin Riley is almost between him and Jock. Austin Riley's kind of putting this team on his back, this offense, and he deserves his credit. That guy's grown up. He's in his 4th year.
But the Braves are sneaky though, because they would have been a 100-win team without those injuries this season. Like, I mean, they
everyone
really
expected
would
them to win
have.
the East. I was
You
the only
know-
one in this group that didn't pick them to win the East, and I was just trolling you.
One of their biggest problems was their catcher getting hurt, and people don't realize how much that affects your pitching. Their pitching while their catcher was out was way down compared to what they usually are. And when he came back, that's when they picked it back up.
So
Yep.
I appreciate the baseball talk. Does that cycle through everybody's good?
Nope, I got
think
to.
we-
Oh, yeah, that cycles through the good. I'll
right.
bring up the bad then. My bad is the Chargers this week. A week after I give them all the credit I thought they deserved, hyping them up, I'm like, hey, the Chiefs are in trouble for the division. The AFC's in trouble. Herbert looks like, just looks like a certified stud. Their run game is almost unstoppable. They've got several good wideouts. The defense looks pretty good. They lose, what was the final score? 34-6 to Baltimore. That's not a good look. Baltimore's better than everyone thought they'd be this early with the injuries they've had, but it's just not.
Chargers-
That wasn't a good look.
They were coming off that big win against the Browns, correct? That was last week.
Yeah.
So you're coming off a big win like that. That was a huge game, and you're traveling to the East Coast for a noon game. I am willing to give the Chargers a pass here. It was bad. It was real bad. But this happens every year. I mean, you guys all remember because you're Chiefs fans when the Chiefs just throttled the Patriots on Monday Night Football a few years ago.
I was at
Everybody
that
said
game,
Tom
broke the
Brady's
record
done.
for loudest stadium in the NFL, 141-14.
So I'm willing to give them a pass for this one game. However, you can't let it happen again, obviously. And
I
you
still,
worry that maybe they're coming back down to earth a little bit, the Chargers.
I'm going on record and saying that I still think they're legit. I think they're a contender, like a true contender, but that was not a good look for them. That was not what contenders do.
Ironically, I almost picked the Ravens as my good for the weekend, for the second week in a row, because they're in control of the AFC now. They beat the
If-
Chargers and the Chiefs head to head.
If Carl
And-
said no
and
to
the
my
Bills lost.
baseball, the Ravens would have been my good, but
Why would I have said no to baseball?
you wouldn't have. That's why I asked you.
I even kind of look like a baseball a little bit. But anyway, no. So yeah, the Chargers they laid an egg, and it happens. I by no means think that they're a contender, not this year at least, but they're a good football team, and yeah, they could screw around and win one on wild card weekend or something, but they're not going to break over the hump this year. Like, people are kind of getting ahead of themselves a little bit on that. And this game kind of proves a little bit of a point, but you're going to take some licks, and they got beat. And so I do think they needed to get beat like this, and not in a way that Chargers fans could be like, oh, it was the refs, or it was the wind, or it was this or that. No, you got beat. Like, there's no other way to say it. You were the worst football team on the field that day among the two. So it's good every once in a while to lose like that. But obviously, as you guys mentioned, you can't string a couple of them together. So, luckily they have one good defensive team coming up with the Patriots, but you got Eagles and Vikings and Steelers. So if you can eke out a couple of those over your next 4, you have Patriots, Eagles, Vikings, and Steelers. If you go 2-2, you're still kind of in the hunt for the wild card, but you can't drop 3 of those and still be in this echelon that you want to be in.
And they got a
Really
bye
can't.
week this week to kind of figure things out. Hopefully for them.
Hopefully not. Hopefully they fall apart the rest of the season.
Be fine with that. Just okay with
my
that.
my bad for the weekend is the Cleveland Browns.
Same.
So at the beginning of the year, I think a lot of us, Kyler
Carl's going
excluded,
to option B.
a lot of us, Kyler excluded, thought the Browns were legit. Like I think most people were saying the Browns were one of the best 3 teams in the AFC. The Browns defense looks terrible. They played the Chiefs and gave up 33 points. They played the Chargers and gave up 47. They played the Cardinals and gave up 37. Baker Mayfield looks every bit as inept as Kyler said he would. And
He's hurt.
right now, the Browns, I don't know. The Browns, seriously, if their defense doesn't figure something out, they might be in trouble of even making the playoffs, let alone being one of the elite teams in the AFC the way they're playing right now.
Okay, so the Browns, my bad is different from that Browns. It's not that they were that bad, it's that they were that hurt. Chubb, Hunt goes down, Mayfield is hurt. Both their starting tackles were out. Like, Myles
But the
Garrett went
problem
down
is
with
the
injury.
defense.
Clowney went down. Like, they have a lot of injuries right now. Myles Garrett leads the league in sacks, so you lose him. Yes, you're losing something there. Like, that's not a good thing to happen. So, my bad is that they're so hurt and we're not going to get to see the Browns do what they should be doing.
Will we ever get to see the Browns do what they're supposed to be?
Yeah, I was gonna say, that
because
sounds
they
like
are
story
the
of
Browns.
I think you're just preaching to what I was saying now because the Browns are gonna brown, is what you're saying.
Can't control injuries, though.
No, but
Injuries
it's the
happen to
most
every
Browns
team, and they
thing
actually
ever.
haven't been that injured all year. They just happened the last game and a half. They've actually been pretty healthy. Their defense has just been getting torched.
Yeah, you're not wrong. They are injured, but for whatever reason, they do they get that pass over other teams that I'm forgetting about? Maybe, that the storyline isn't their injuries. Their storyline is
The Ravens
they
are
were
injured.
the Ravens have been hit hard by injuries. They've stuck through it because they have a quarterback. And I told you guys Baker Mayfield is not the guy. He's still not the guy. If they don't run the ball, they got nothing on offense. Now, granted, they're one of the best running teams in the league when they're healthy. But if they don't have that, they're going to struggle. Just want to throw this out there. If the season ended today, the Steelers are in the playoffs. The Browns are not. Just wanted to throw that out there for y'all.
They barely beat the Seahawks without
They
Russell
barely
Wilson,
beat
dude.
Geno Smith's
They
led
barely.
Seahawks.
You could look at it like that, or
that's
you
a
could look at it.
horrible time to bring that up.
You could look at it like they beat a desperate 2-3 team fighting for the playoffs. However you want to look at it.
Led by Geno Smith, who hasn't started since 2014.
Geno Smith's been desperate for a decade.
This episode has had so many "if your aunt had balls, she'd be your uncle" statements so far. There's been so many. If the Browns weren't hurt, if the Chargers didn't play like shit, if the Steelers did this, it's so many hypotheticals. But anywho, I digress.
I mean, it is true, though. All righty. Kyler, did you have a bad? Did you already?
No, I haven't.
The Dodgers.
Do you have a future?
Yeah, no.
You mind if he talks about baseball again?
Yeah, no. My bad was mainly the Browns, but I'll bring up the Patriots because the Patriots, obviously not a lot of people thought they were a playoff team. You had a game, and to get to 3-3, which the 7 seed in the AFC is 3-3 right now. So you had a game to stay right there in the playoff hunt. Everything you went your way, yet you still didn't get the job done. So I think things are looking pretty grim in New England. Things were starting to look like they were click a little bit. But after losing that game, that was a game they needed. They were gifted that game, and they didn't come out with it. So my bad is the New England Patriots. That's a tough one to recover from.
Yeah, but with the position they're in, I don't think any of us picked them to make the playoffs, did we?
I thought
No,
that
but-
you and Kyler both said they were going to make.
I said they
playoffs.
would be a fringe playoff team.
But anyway, with the position they're in, Mac is improving and stuff, and They're just
I'm
not going
pretty
to go
sure
anywhere this year.
I'm
But
pretty sure everyone was arguing with me that the Patriots would be in the playoff hunt when the season started, to be completely honest, when we did the AFC East. Because
Carl, you were saying?
I was the one who said that Belichick
no, I
was
picked the Pats third in their division behind the Dolphins, which turns out there's the Dolphins. God damn!
that whole
believe-
division. There is
I
no
believe
second
I
place team in that
said
division.
the Dolphins and Patriots would fight it out for second place, and that looks to still be the storyline.
The Dolphins are so bad. Holy crap!
Well,
Sorry,
I
T.
forgot to save my notes from that episode. Oh, nope, here. Yeah, I had Bills, Dolphins, and Pats.
I think
So
I
good
just said
thing
the
we-
Dolphins would finish above the Patriots, and you guys said that they would be battling it out.
I mean, they might be battling it out at 6
For,
and
for
11.
3 wins. The Dolphins might not get 3 wins. I don't know.
You know, Belichick, he's gonna. So yeah, they're not gonna have a great year, but Belichick's gonna get his guys the experience they need. Mac looks like he's progressing well. Like it's trending in the right direction. They're just not winning those games right now. So yeah, it's just not going to be their year, and some years are like that. So
How many years does Belichick get before we agree that it was all Tom?
about
No, they
15.
don't. I don't know that I'll ever say it was all Tom Brady, but you guys, somebody's got to realize at some point it was a lot more Tom Brady than Bill Belichick.
Very good. All right. So I have already given my future. If you don't bet that Chiefs Titans over, you're a big dummy-o. But what
And
are
that's
some
your
of
stone
guys'
cold pick of the century of the week. Tune in next week. Okay. Go ahead.
I wasn't. My wife had something to say, so I missed all that.
What's your future?
Oh, for next week, one of you guys go ahead.
I went about 30 minutes ago.
Oh, did you?
We kind of talked
Well,
about it, and I didn't want to interrupt earlier, but mine.
I mean, there's a big AFC North matchup next week between the Bengals and Ravens. This is the Bengals' chance. You know, they had their chance against the Packers. They played them pretty tough last couple weeks ago. Now they get the Ravens, and you want to win the division. You got to win these division matchups. You know, I think the Bengals got a shot here. They're playing pretty solid on both sides of the ball. You know, but this is one. If you want to win the division, you got to win. It's the Bengals' chance. It is on the road, so it'd make even more of a statement. But I am looking forward to watching that game. I will pick the Ravens, but it's a good opportunity for these Bengals to prove they're for real, because people still wonder about that team right now.
I am also curious. I don't know.
The Bengals can tie anybody. That game will be tied with like 23 seconds left because the Bengals can tie anybody. It's whether they can get over that hump and beat anybody.
So this
Uh,
week's kind of interesting. We were talking about how there were some big spreads, but there's also some good games this week. And Thursday Night Football, while it might not be the most exciting game, speaking of teams who need a win, the Broncos started 3-0. They've lost 3 in a row. I think we all think they're pretenders at this time, but they're not. I mean, they're still 3-3. They're still somewhat
The
in the hunt.
Broncos?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still 3-3 because they beat the Jags, the
and the
Jets, and the
Browns.
Giants.
The Browns are 3-3, trying to get back into some kind of rhythm. I think the Browns need to win that game this week. It's a must win. So I think that's the game to look forward to this week. If the Browns don't find a way to win that, they really will be in trouble for making the playoffs.
I mean, the Broncos are coming off. They got handled by the Steelers. The game was 24-6 in the fourth quarter. It got close at the end, but they were handled for 3 quarters of that game. They played the Raiders, got handled for 3.5 quarters of that game, made it close at the end. So yeah, the Browns this is a must win for the Browns.
It is.
Very good.
Okay. My
Is that-
future, looking ahead, it's we've already talked about it. Chiefs Titans gonna be the game of the week. I think should be high scoring. Both teams need this game. They both need it. Gonna be hungry. It's in Nashville, so bonus to the Titans there. Chiefs could fall below 500 again, or they could go 4-3, and the Titans could be sitting at 4-3 as well. But I kind of am going to audible a little bit since we've already talked about it a little bit, and How bad is the Monday night game this week? You always look for your primetime games to be good games. And 5 years ago, this would have been as prime time as it gets. Maybe even 3 years ago. But
to be fair, primetime is due for a bad game because primetime has been money this year. A
Yeah,
lot
it
of
has.
overtime.
Bills Chiefs wasn't necessarily a great game.
And the Mannings are back, so I'm regardless.
Oh
I'm
my
excited
goodness,
about
yeah.
the Monday night game.
The
I'm
Mannings
hyped.
get to talk about Jameis Winston.
and Geno
Yeah.
Smith.
What a dream we're talking about. Right?
Jameis Winston and Geno Smith
Yeah.
by Peyton Manning and Eli Manning.
Geno's the guy that ended Eli Manning's start streak in
Yeah.
New York.
Oh, so he's going to be salty about that, too.
I'm sure he'll talk good about him.
Oh, yeah, he will.
Well, who do you got in that game? Since you think it's a stinker.
Real stinker of a game it is. No, you just want me to say New Orleans is what you're doing. You just want me to
He
give.
really wants us to talk about how New Orleans is going to be 4-2 and they
Yep.
should be top 10 in the power rankings again.
I did not say top 10.
Mark 'em top
Y'all need
5
to
is
put
what
some
Carl
respect
says.
on it.
I'm going to go with New Orleans just because Russell Wilson's out.
Yeah, if Russell Wilson was playing, it wouldn't be a question, but
Yeah.
I think with Geno Smith leading the offense, it'll probably be New Orleans.
Even with Russell Wilson playing, it's probably going to be a real stinker of a game. But
Saints are getting a lot of people back this week from the IR, so be on
Saints
the
are coming off a bye week as well. 2 weeks to prepare for this.
Wouldn't it suck to have your bye this early in the year? Ugh.
I would have paid.
Week 4 is the worst.
Yeah.
I would have paid lifetime worth of salary for the Chiefs to have it before last week, but they look like they may have righted the ship a little bit.
Hey guys, breaking news. Luther Burden, number 2 wide receiver, has committed to Mizzou.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Good luck,
ooh.
Luther Burden. Good luck.
They're gonna
Need
go
a quarterback to get him
4-7.
the
I
football.
hope you're making the right
Yeah.
choice, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're coming. Welcome.
Oh,
What
so now
idiot.
is this the Dorian Green situation all over again? All the
You can
Mizzou.
drink beer anywhere in the United States. It does not have to be in Colombia. Contrary to popular belief.
He's from East St. Louis. He had offers from Alabama and Georgia, and Mizzou were his last 3 schools. So
Yeah, but all I'm
let's
saying
hope-
is
let's
now
hope
we're
it's
gonna
not
have
the
to.
beat-
We can't just be rational and be like, oh, he makes Mizzou better, but they're probably still only going to win 4 or 5 games. Now it's going to be number 1 wide receiver, national championship all over. You could put a 35-year-old Tim Tebow back there, and we'd win this thing no problem.
Would you rather be wide receiver 1 at a 4-7 school or wide receiver 3 for a national championship school?
Yeah, but the 4-7 school is Mizzou, which I wouldn't want to be QB1 if they were destined to go 6-0 there, because something's going to happen. So there's going to be breaking news. The game before the national championship game of somebody was doing cocaine off of something, and it all goes downhill.
Maybe
Matty
by
Mock
then
outside of
cocaine
Big 12.
maybe by then cocaine will be legal. Maybe, just maybe.
Only if Mizzou football can only hope cocaine's legal by the time they're ready to play in the national championship.
Our first YouTube strike might be coming. Cody, what is your... you guys are still in the eliminator. Cody picked the Chiefs, and Kyler squeaked one out with the Cowboys last week. So you guys can go ahead and bicker about who's picking first, but I need an eliminator out of both of you.
I'll let Cody decide because I don't care.
And I can tell you both whose you've used so far this year.
I already know who I haven't used, and I'm taking the Cardinals.
Mother trucker.
I know you guys were talking about big point spreads, but that's the only game I like.
Have I used the Packers?
Have you used the Packers? No.
I'm going with the Packers.
So you want to hear the point spreads for next week that are big, Cody?
Yes.
You got like 3 that are double digits. Tampa
then
Bay
one that's
12.5 over Chicago, 17.5 for Arizona over Houston, and then 15 for the Rams over the Lions.
Yeah, but I've already used the
Packers are
Rams.
9.5.
I think the Rams win that thing by 30.
And then Patriots over the Jets are 7. Packers over the football team are 9.5.
A lot of points.
Yeah, I would be happy to give.
Eliminators aren't against the spread.
I'd be happy to
1-9.
give Kai the Cardinals if I hadn't used the Rams already. But Here's my soapbox for the week though. The Lions are only, you guys put them down at the pits of the power rankings. They're only like 2 field goals and 1 mishap of a play away from being 3-3 right now. Okay. Speaking of if your aunt had balls, she'd be your uncle. But
the Vikings are that from being 5-1.
I just want to say that the Jaguars found a way to get a win before the Lions, so the Lions deserve to be last in the power rankings.
Yeah, but it's London. It's the Dolphins. Like
the Jaguars are undefeated out of the USA this year.
Urban Meyer has a bye week coming up, so you know he's in a pub rubbing against some honeys over there. Like, I'm pretty sure
Urban Meyer was the real winner this weekend.
He probably thinks
honestly,
the pictures
I actually almost
can't be sent back to the United States from London or something.
And not because he won a game, just because he got out of America and got in London, where it's a little more accepted.
I almost said that the Jaguars were the winner because no one's talking about Urban Meyer after they got a win. Honestly, they might be the loser. Actually, Jaguars might be the losers because Urban Meyer.
I would say even with that win, he better not get on Shad Khan's boat because he'll probably kick him off somewhere in the Atlantic.
He gets to coach one more week because of that win. That's the bright spot.
Maybe.
One more NFL paycheck, one more night in the clubs with the honeys.
A twist of all twists, and this would make sense too. Urban Meyer ends up going to Las Vegas and being the Raiders coach after the season.
Not happening.
He'd fit right in.
Yeah, honestly.
He will not get another NFL job after he gets fired for the shit show that it's been.
I agree. I don't even think he'll coach again, though. He's already faked 6 injuries to get out of coaching before. He obviously only likes it for short periods of time.
So, okay, real quick. Have you guys seen all the stuff with Coach O from LSU? Like, you know that he's
bringing his girlfriend and her kids to practice.
And the other one was he saw some lady in a workout suit at a gas station and rolled down his window and catcalled her and said, "Hey, you look good in that whatnot." Well, her husband was some high-ranking official in the school. There's just all kinds of stories that his girlfriends were bringing their kids to practice and they were participating in practice.
Kids were participating in practice.
Yeah. Like,
how cool that would be for that kid, though.
Oh yeah, that kid's got memories.
Time in their life.
He's made that kid's life, but he's also hurt the LSU program in the process of giving that kid memories he'll never forget.
He can afford a hamburger. He's all right. Alrighty, well, I think that's going to do it for us here this week. We appreciate you guys tuning in. You can find these on Spotify, Apple, what's it called?
Apple Podcast.
Apple Podcast.
YouTube is probably where we prefer you watch, so you can see our faces and you can see the faces we make at each other. But I do appreciate it. I do appreciate wherever you guys tune in. Keep chirping us on the power rankings because they're our power rankings, not yours. You suck, we don't. And
so do the Cowboys.
And until next time, be good out there and tell your grandma. Peace.
Peace.